he's a helper.
Also added to that the fact that we always have this expectation of life being this long or some period of time, and it's always out in the future, and suddenly it hits at our doorstep. And so this morning, it's tough. And on top of that, obviously, we've been dealing with the COVID virus, and the family who would love to hug on you and just spend time with you is having to be separated today. And so I just want to encourage you today, in the midst of all that process that we're walking in, that you find a way to encourage. It might be through a letter, it might be through a phone call later if you need to. But we want to definitely thank you for coming, understanding that it's different than we've probably ever experienced before, celebrating somebody's life. So as I look, I see it's an overwhelming day. It's a day that we're distressed. It's a day that we are disheartened and discouraged. A day that we're mourning. And so the best way I can think to start today is simply to do this, to bring you back to Scripture and to remind you from Scripture who God is on this day. So let me read to you, if I can, this morning, 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 3 through 6. It says this: Praise be to the God and the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in our troubles, so that we can comfort those in trouble with the comfort we ourselves have received from God. For just as the suffering of Christ flows over into our lives, so also through Christ our comfort overflows. It is for your comfort which produces in you patient endurance of the same suffering we suffer. So with this passage in mind, that He is the God of all comfort, in the midst of our grieving, in the midst of all the things that happen in our lives that we don't know what the right answers are to, He is the God of all comfort. And so I bring you back to that this morning because that's what I hold to when I don't know what to do next. I know that God knows how to comfort me and knows how to comfort you better than anyone and anything else can. So with this in mind this morning, I'd like to just open in prayer. Father, we thank you for this day. Father, we thank you for the life of Erik James Oberg. We thank you that you are the creator of life. And Lord, this day we come and we acknowledge before you that many of us don't know how to feel today. We don't know how to respond today. And yet in this place we ask that you would fill our hearts with your comfort. Father, that you would minister to the family, that they would hear from you and they would hear from others words of encouragement. And Lord, you see where each one of us walks today, and you see that as we come to honor the life of Erik and to honor his family, Father, I pray we'd be able to do so with your Spirit's leading and guiding this day. We ask all this in Christ's name. Amen. Well, Erik James Oberg was born February 10th, 1981. The youngest of three sons of Johnnie and John Oberg. And he would probably say the smartest of the three as well. Just saying. The family moved to Limerick in 1986, and that's where many of us got to know them. And they moved to a more rural lifestyle and environment. Erik actually began kindergarten right over here at the Limerick School. And from there, he went on to Foothill Intermediate School, just up the road here. And then in high school, he went to, where did he go?
Faith Christian.
Thank you. He went to Faith Christian High School. And he became quite a character by that point in time in his life. We've been blessed by his life, the sharing of his life with our lives, and we know that Erik grew up in a church, and I remember coming as he was, I think, a 6th or 7th grader when I came to the church. And what a great kid he was. At age 12, he was baptized here at Limerick Community Church. So after school, he attended Yuba College in Marysville, and he got his associate's degree in 2001. Well, from there, Erik went to work locally for a few years. And then in 2006, he moved to Reno, where his older brother Tony was, and his family was living there, and he began to attend the University of Nevada, Reno. He graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Business and Marketing, and then he went to work for the World Financial Link Group in Reno. It was a sales and marketing and securities. At the same time, Erik began to work part-time in a hospitality industry in Reno as a waiter. Erik discovered that financial sales was not his vocation, or not his love. He didn't care for it. And he really enjoyed the social interaction of working in a restaurant. Well, in 2010, the family got a blow as Erik and his family had to deal with the passing of his father, John Oberg, after he died after a long battle with cancer. Then in 2011, Johnnie, his brother, invited Erik to move to Los Angeles where he was living, and where he could find a job as a waiter. Erik first started working at the Del Fresco Grill. From there, he worked at the Fleming Steakhouse. From there, he went on to work at the Mastros Ocean Club. And then finally, in the last 3 years, he worked at Le Pan's Quotidian. I'm sure I butchered that well, but a very high-end restaurant in LA, right alongside Johnnie. Well, at Le Pan's, Erik was training to achieve the status of a level 1. Now, you're going to love this word because Johnnie and I practiced this a whole bunch of time, but so yeah, and I blew it and I messed it. Let me tell you what Erik had just achieved. He'd become a really good wine taster and suggester to other people. And so we went over this yesterday multiple times. I went home and my whole family got to learn the word the wrong way. But Erik was really good at tasting and advising you what wine to choose for what kind of menu. Well, Erik in just a few years' time had gone from working in a pedestrian restaurant, people walking in, to working in LA, one of their best restaurants in LA. Then in May of 2018, Erik suffered his first seizure while he was at home, and he had sustained a head injury as well, and it required him to be hospitalized in an ICU unit. And the cause of the seizure, they didn't know. They weren't able to identify it. The second episode occurred while Erik was working on the job, and he hit his head when he went down with the seizure. And he suffered some traumatic brain injury, and this resulted in scarring tissue in his brain. And it increased the risk for future seizures. Well, this also caused the loss of his driver's license, and eventually Erik would suffer from 9 seizure episodes in LA. Well, at that point in time, his family had decided that, it's probably better he come up home to be with his mom, Jenny, and Les up here, and hopefully get his medication in balance and hopefully kind of stop the seizures and to stabilize his life. Well, about a year ago, Erik arrived in Limerica again, and things seemed to be going well. In fact, the seizures had been reduced to about once every 4 months. Once again, while I was here, Erik reestablished his relationship with his childhood friendships with Deborah Shaw and Spike Watkins. They were constant companions, enjoying dinner, movies, games together. Erik, when he came home, also began to reconnect with his spiritual life. The place he'd grown up with, his mom was encouraged to see him returning to some of the roots of what he knew to be right. And so many things were happening in this place of limbo in his life, not sure what was coming next. Even last month, Erik's brother Johnnie and his sister-in-law Lauren were expecting their first child at Christmas, so Erik, Jenny, and Les traveled to Los Angeles to be there for the big day. So basically, on the day that John Carl Oberg III, pretty impressive, arrived on December 18th, and Erik was so delighted that he had the opportunity to hold his new nephew, who is here today sleeping. He's not going to fuss until his dad speaks. I'm just sure that's how it works. Well, while plans were uncertain in his life, he began to consider and was looking forward to moving to Reno to find a job where he didn't require him to drive, and he was going to be staying at his brother and sister-in-law Tony and Yenny's house, or staying close to them, and they're excited to be having them in their lives again. Well, Erik, he had the habit of staying up late and sleeping in, and it was a pattern that had been established a long time ago, working in restaurants. And on Wednesday, January 6th, in the early afternoon, his mom came in the room to find that he had passed from this life, probably having had a seizure in his bed. And he was just a few months shy of his 40th birthday. Erik was really a people person. If you knew Erik, you knew that there was always going to be something interesting coming out of his mouth. He was outgoing, happy, and easygoing. And as a typical youngest child, he was always clowning around and making people laugh. I remember one time taking him to Yosemite, and I shared this in a sermon just a few weeks ago. I was using it for an example of crazy things that happened to us, but I used Erik as my example because I remember all the way to Yosemite one year backpacking, he had an entire book of all the bad things that could happen to you and what could kill you in this life. And it was really fun listening to him describe it all. Well, he was very witty, very funny, and he could find humor in almost any situation. And he had a real superb timing with his quips and his sharp remarks. Erik was liked by everyone. He was always laughing, fun to be around. And his brother Johnnie describes Erik as a puppy in human form. I hope that didn't include peeing on the floor. Make that clear. Erik loved video games. He loved movies, especially sci-fi movies. He loved survivor-type TV shows. He loved hiking and jogging. He was bright and articulate. And he aspired to be a toy maker and to be a video game designer when he was young, until he learned how much math it would actually require him to learn. And then he quickly gave up on that idea, and that career path. Erik rarely got irritated with people, did great with people, but he did have an exception to that rule in his life sometimes, and that exception was his brother Johnnie. They lived together for 7 years. Can you imagine brothers living together for 7 years as adults? That must have been interesting. Well, Johnnie likes to sing. And Erik did not appreciate Johnnie singing all the time. And unbeknownst to Johnnie, he chews too loudly. And Erik didn't appreciate that either. Well, in his passing today, Erik is survived by his mother, Johnnie Oberg Minter, and her husband Les Minter of Lamerica. 2 brothers, Tony Russo and his wife Jenny of Reno, Nevada. Johnnie Oberg Jr. and his wife Lauren, and the little one. Many friends of the family include Matt and Avery from Fort Collins, Colorado. Tyler, Jennifer, and Carl of Los Angeles. Christina Camacho of LA. And Dean and Dina of Las Vegas. Erik is preceded in death by his father, John Carl Oberg Sr., and his uncle, Harry Oberg of Kelowna, Colorado. At this time, I would like to invite Johnnie. He would like to come share with you a few words about his brother. And then when he is done, if anyone else would like to share something, you might be able just to talk loudly from where you're at, or you're welcome to come up here as well and maybe just share a memory or thought with the family. I know it's much harder at such a distance today, but we still want to encourage you to share those thoughts. And if you don't get an opportunity to share those thoughts today with each other, to make sure you write them down, and make sure you make that phone call to encourage the family. I know that will be a blessing to them. So, Johnnie, at this time, would you go ahead and come up and share?
My cousin Charity couldn't be here with us today. We lost our dads within probably about 24 hours of each other in 2010. My dad was obviously buried right here as well. She just now sent this to read, and she's trying to mess me up and make me cry in front of everybody, but I'm going to go ahead and read this off before I kind of start. My dedication. Charity says, for some, they know exactly what to say so quickly. For others, days may pass before finding the right words. I'm the victim of the latter. My little cousin, you were so much fun. Lamerica and Bangor, which is adjacent town, was where it was at. Mud pies, tag on the property. Chasing Scout, that was our dog. Knee boarding, camping on the lake, VBS, Vacation Bible School. More recent, MMA fights, karaoke at the dive bar, wine sipping at home, and BSing about actors in new and old films. The Beastmaster, if you know, then you know. No one can take those memories from me. My heart is hurting and my face shows it. Tears flow when I speak your name or about you. I miss your laugh, what a laugh. Everyone loved being around you. You were never annoying or disrespectful, but quite the opposite. A joy, optimistic, funny, and genuine. Always calm and so casual. Easy to talk to. Who didn't like Erik? No one. Now our lives must go on without you. We all know where you are right now and who you are with, Dad. But that doesn't make it easier to accept the simple fact that I won't see your face again while I'm here on Earth. You are not just a loss, you are a massive, one-of-a-kind loss. A loss of disproportionate proportions. A loss that will be felt for as long as I live. You will never, ever, ever be forgotten. We will continue to celebrate your birthday every year as if you were still physically here with us, wine and all. Thank you for always being your true self. Thank you for loving me. I miss you, cousin. Rest in paradise. I love you. So, thank you, Charity, for sending that. We're so grateful for everyone who went through the trouble and sacrifice to be here live, especially given the circumstances of this and last year. It really means a lot to us. Shout out also, beyond the people that Dave mentioned, we got Matt and Avery here from Colorado. They drove 16 hours, so thank you guys. David Rice is the senior pastor now of Lomerica Community Church, and I think he did an incredible job, and we cannot thank him enough for doing this. He had to take over within 48 hours for another pastor that had a case of COVID. Thank you to my wife, who was able to keep a 4-week-old baby happy while I helped with, setting up the memorial. Deborah Shaw, and her name cannot be mentioned enough. Close personal friend of Erik's growing up, and got reacquainted with him this last year. Not only sat with us while we compiled pictures, but then got so many more pictures from family, compiled those pictures, then set it all to music and tortured herself so that you all could see Erik's life that was so beautifully lived and loved. I want to introduce my older brother Tony and Yenny here that are sitting here. They've been such an amazing help with everything that had to get done in a few days. Erik had been funny basically from birth. I know if the situation was reversed, he'd make you laugh a lot more than I'm going to make you laugh today. He knew how to disarm the family even as a 3-year-old. Once when our dad came into the kitchen, he asked, "Who dumped all this water on the floor?" And Tony said, "I don't know." I said, "I don't know." Erik, without missing a beat, said, "I don't know, maybe a stranger did it." When he was 3 years old. He attempted to get out of chores when he was 3, and my dad asked Erik, why didn't you clean your toys up like I asked? And Erik said, "Why don't I just not talk to you anymore?" When I was 7 and my brother was 5, my mom was talking about growing up and growing older, and she said one day she would be as old as our great-grandmother, who was still alive, and Erik started crying, and he said, "No, Mom, I don't want you to get old. Put some more cream on your face." Did a great job. She did. Yeah. This is Browns Valley with Lomerica, where we grew up, adjacent here to the west, and it's really pretty and has a rustic charm. We moved here as a family in '86, like David said, from the Bay Area. And it's still hard to find reception on your phone. So me, Tony, and Erik had each other. Tony has 5 years on me, 7 years on Erik. So Erik and I were pretty much synonymous out here. Johnnie and Erik, Starsky and Hutch, Bert and Ernie. We were weird kids. We would build nunchucks out of our dad's garage, instantly see an invisible enemy in the tree, throw it up there, it would get stuck. We'd be like, back to the garage, making more nunchucks. We also like to take these nunchucks wherever we went. And I remember Lomerica Community Church elder Bob Young noticing Erik and I in the parking lot with our nunchucks, and he comes up to us and says, "Guys, are those nunchucks tucked into your slacks?" And we looked down and we're like, "Yeah, so?" And he said, "I don't think that's appropriate for church." And we didn't understand why he didn't want us to protect everybody. Eric and I had a Limerick routine. A typical day was my mom worked a 12-hour nursing shift. My dad was a shell-shocked Vietnam vet who would be around but not so active. And so Eric and I would scrounge up change in drawers and go down to Gold Eagle Market, get a Pepsi, and then backtrack on our bikes to get movies at Limerick Video. And that was the good life to us. Eric used to work in the deli at Gold Eagle Market that you'll soon see when we go down the reception. He was allowed to eat all the popular, at the time, JoJo fried potatoes that he wanted, that he made for free. And then one day when he was doing that, he decided it'd be a good idea to eat a pickle from the pickle jar with his JoJo fingers, and he got potato fry batter inside the pickle juice jar. And guest after guest that day would come up and say, "What's going on with the pickle juice? Looks like there's all kinds of floaters." And my brother would look at it and be like, "I don't see anything." High school was all about going to Java retreat on Plumas after school with Matt Olson, where we would drink coffee like we needed coffee and chat for hours all hyped up. And Eric and I once had long-running jokes that have gone back for years and years. We once watched a really horrible movie called Society. I think it was on Showtime, where an entire town melts together in secret every year and forms one giant societal mush. And they need one more body, which is the protagonist of this film. And besides some really cool special effects where a character emerges as literally a talking butthead, that's what it was. It was something that when the credits started rolling, we looked at each other and we're like, we're never going to get those 2 hours back. But that didn't stop us from inviting people over like Matt Olson, saying, "You've got to watch the best movie you've ever seen." And then we would watch the entire movie, and then when the credits roll, we would look over and we're like, "Got you." And Eric always thought it was so cool that I went down to LA and I got to work with the same special effects guy. And then 2 or 3 weeks ago, I texted him. I said, "You should make Deborah and Spike watch Society," even though it's we haven't watched that movie since we were 10 or 11. He goes, "I don't know if Deborah and Spike, I could do that to him." That's how nice he had become. Eric lived in Reno after he graduated college, like Dave said, until he was 30. My favorite story of his was dealing with all the dirty Burning Man people who came to his bar at Reno and wanted to not pay for drinks or food, but barter for them. And he would all make us laugh with his stories about them and complain about them year after year. And it was, like Dave said, it was right after we buried our dad right here that I decided to invite Eric down to LA to try it on for size in 2011. And he seemed to like the fit for quite some time, for almost a decade. We had a second run at basically a childlike existence. Eric had no car at that time, so he rented this giant U-Haul truck and called me from the road, and he said he had some good news and some bad news. I said, "Uh-oh, here we go. What's the bad news?" Bad news is I wrecked the entire top roof of this U-Haul truck's roof going through the parking lot and scraping under a light post. Good news is, don't worry, I got the extended full, no questions asked insurance on it. And when I showed up with Eric to drop off the keys, the guy goes, Eric signed all the documents. He goes, "I'm going to go check the truck." And Eric winks at me, and the guy comes back. He goes, "What? Almost the entire roof's off. What did you do?" And Eric goes, "No questions asked." And we left, and it worked. I was like, okay. Eric was not self-conscious. We needed to get him a car after that, and he arrived in LA and he didn't have one. We put a down payment on a gray Toyota Prius at Marina Del Rey. And we decided, because he was so excited, to capture a picture of him jumping in the air by the car for I love what you did for me, Toyota, mid-jump freeze frame picture. So I had Eric jump at the dealership, but by the time the camera took the picture, he had already landed. So I let him know, and he backed up, and then he took another running start, so it'd be a good jump. And then once again, I wasn't trying to mess with him. I just didn't get it on time. We took that picture so many times that the entire Salesforce staff lined up shoulder to shoulder to watch, and they were just laughing. And Erik didn't care because he was so excited about the Prius. When he landed in LA, we got him involved with martial arts because I was doing that with my friend and trainer Nick Nikoloff, and pretty soon that became an obsession with both of us. And this dusty old Muay Thai gym up in North Hollywood, it's like the first North Hollywood, or the first North American Muay Thai gym. And we rebonded that doing it together. It was so quiet, Ryan Gosling even started showing up to train. And one day, even though Erik was getting trained in mixed martial arts, where there were times he was told by our trainer, let's just focus on one thing, and our trainer wanted to focus in on boxing. And so he was in the ring and went down for a double leg takedown kind of wrestling move, and our trainer accidentally did like a knee-jerk reaction and popped him right in the eyebrow, and he had to go right to the hospital and get stitches, and got 19 stitches from a plastic surgeon because he already got opened up previously from a different thing in that same eyebrow, because Erik was just a rumble and tumble kind of guy. This love for martial arts led to a mutual obsession for the UFC, and we loved to hold court in LA for viewing parties, and did that for years and years, and it was so easy to co-host with him because Erik was just a perfect partner in crime like that. I'll cook, you clean, and we didn't have to say anything. Once we even met a famous UFC star around LA Live, and his name was Nick Diaz from Stockton, and Erik and I Mickey Mouse with him, and we were all excited, and he walked 3 feet away. Erik goes, "Did you smell that guy?" I was like, "Erik, stop talking. That guy's gonna beat us up if you say that." But he was always looking for the joke, and I was always delighted where he would find it. He seemed to pinpoint on what made you laugh and go from there. We even got other friends in on the action and had a mansion UFC party that some friends hosted for us that was fully catered for 30 guests. And towards the end of the night, the host steward that owns the mansion calls me into a surveillance room and informs me that he just caught Erik making out with a girl in the bushes. I was like, I just shrugged, that's my brother. No one will ever be able to match Erik's quick take on a topic to get you laughing, and then seal the deal with a sound effect to make you pee a little bit. And the fact that we all don't get those new jokes from him hurts. Most nights in LA, I was just excited to come home to my brother, my best friend, my roommate, and log more hours of memories. Like Dave was saying, we would watch TV shows late into the night, playing video games, which I stopped because he would just my butt. And it's perfect trust, comfort, loyalty, shorthand language, and 40-year-old inside jokes. Erik always had his priorities straight. He was always there for his family. That's what was important to him. And he was always incredibly loyal and rallied for a challenge. Once a friend was going to let us borrow a $500,000 car. It's a Rolls-Royce Phantom. And it was my birthday, and Erik volunteered to drive that car around, which I wouldn't do, but he's like, "It's your birthday, I'll be the DD." The last year, during the 3rd trimester of Lauren's pregnancy, I would lean in to listen to my wife Lauren's belly and marvel that this little thought, this little idea that we had been thinking about all year was to my ear now a reality in there. I could hear his movement, his biology, and realize that he is now an actual person in there to be reckoned with, so full of life. And I can't help but recognize how quickly the life of cycle turns its wheel. And I don't want to look, but I see this box over here. So full of life, just a few days ago. My brother was excited to be an uncle again for my son John. He did get to meet him in LA. We took careful COVID tests of everybody and got confirmations, and my mom and Les met him, and my mom told me when I got up here that my birthday was coming up, and not only did we find an empty birthday card for me, but a Father's Day card for me that he had already bought but hadn't had time to fill out just yet. Erik didn't have a death wish. Like Dave said, seizures began in May of 2018. And after the time he was first hospitalized, he seemed to make a full recovery. And with no family history of that, we all hoped for the best. LA was his home and he didn't want to go anywhere else. He seemed to be all systems go. Well, more episodes came, and with them bigger complications, as Dave said. When the seizures befell him, he was doing everything he could to get healthy and isolate possible causes that were mysterious to even the neurologists. We eventually had come to find out that alcohol, the scar tissue in his brain from his fall, and even drugs like caffeine, ultimately, were dangerous as well. We knew seizures were going to plague him for the rest of his life. It's unclear what that life was going to look like. And so the family will always wonder what more could have been done. Erik wanted privacy in these matters. I always regret not making that more public to help him. For my part, I always felt like my little brother's protector, and that job never felt done. But I am thankful that I got a second frame of time, just shy of a decade, to play with him in our 30s. I'm thankful for all of his friends and his family who came out during a global pandemic to celebrate his life. He had some incredible ones. I hope your stories of him continue on social media. I'm thankful that he got out of this silly country and saw Ireland. He talked about it a lot. I'm thankful to my mom and Les, who supported him and looked out for him this past year as he transitioned into a more structured, careful life. Exactly 1 year ago today, Erik told me with tears in his eyes as he was leaving LA that this is a big deal for Erik because he never cried. He just never wanted me to worry about him. Well, I'm finally not worried about you anymore, brother. If there is a heaven, I know you're going to be there. But regardless, I still feel you so viscerally. I hope you don't mind if I talk to you for the rest of my life. Thank you.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I never knew. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Swinging in the the backyard, pull up in your fast car, whistling my name. Open up a beer and you say get over here and play a video game. I'm in his favorite sundress, watching me get undressed, take that body downtown. I say you the bestest, leaning for a big kiss, put his favorite perfume on, go play your video game. It's you, it's you, it's all for you. Everything I do, I tell you all the time. Heaven is a place on earth with you. Tell me all the things you wanna do. I heard that you like the bad girls, honey. Is that true? It's better than I ever even knew. They say that the world was built for two, only worth living if somebody is loving you. And baby, now you do. Singing in the old bars, swinging with the old stars, living for the fame. Kissing in the blue dark, playing pool and wild dots, video games. He holds me in his big arms, drunk and I am seeing stars. This is all I think of. Watching all our friends fall in and out of old Pauls. This is my idea of fun, playing video games. It's you, it's you, it's all for you. Everything I do, I'll tell you all the time. Heaven is a place on earth with you. Tell me all the things you wanna do. I heard that you like the bad girls, honey. Is that true? It's better than I ever even knew. They say that the world was built for two, only worth living if somebody is loving you. And baby, now you do. It's you, it's you, it's all for you. Everything I do, I'll tell you all the time. Heaven is a place on earth with you. Tell me all the things you wanna do. I heard that you like the bad girls, honey. Is that true? It's better than I ever even knew. They say that the world was built for two, only worth living if somebody is loving you. And baby, now you do. 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 Now you do.
pure and true, saying, this is my message to you. Don't worry about a thing. Worry about a thing, oh, every little thing gonna be alright. Don't worry, singing, don't worry about a thing. I won't worry, 'cause every little thing gonna be alright. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing gonna be alright. I won't worry, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing gonna be alright. Don't worry about a thing.
Said it's breaking down on a camel's back. They just have to go 'cause they don't know where. So all your favorite streets is appealing to see. You won't get undercounted 'cause you're dead and free. You got a new horizon, it's ephemeral style. A melancholy town where we never smile. And all I wanna hear is the message beep. My dreams, they gotta kissing 'cause I don't get sleep, no. Windmill, windmill for the land, love forever hand in hand. Take it all out on your stride, it is taking voting down. Love forever, love is free, let's turn forever, you and me. Windmill, windmill for the land, is everybody in?
Laughing gas, these hazmats, fast cats, lining them up like ass crack. Ladies, ponies at the track, it's my chocolate attack. Shit, I'm stepping in harder this year. Yeah, bear rapping in harder this year. Watch me as I gravitate. Ha 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 ha. Yo, we gon' ghost town, this Motown with your sound. You in the blink, gon' bite the dust, can't fight with us. With your sound, you kill the ink, so don't stop, get it, until you chair the head. And watch the way I navigate. Ha 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 ha.
born a rambling man. Lord, I was 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 born a rambling man. Something in your eyes makes me want to lose myself. Makes me want to lose myself in your arms. There's something in your voice makes my heart beat fast. Hope this feeling lasts the rest of my life. If you knew how lonely my life has been and how low I felt for so long. If you knew how I wanted someone to come along and change my life the way you've done. Feels like home to me. Feels like home to me. Feels like I'm all the way back where I come from. Feels like home to me. Feels like home to me. Feels like I'm all the way back where I belong. A window breaks down a long dark street, and a siren wails in the night. But I'm alright, 'cause I have you here with me, and I can almost see through the dark there's a light.